On September 12, 2020, Attorney General of South Dakota Joseph Ravnsborg was driving home from a South Dakota Republican Party fundraiser in Redfield, about 110 miles from his home on U.S. Highway 14 west of Highmore, when his Ford Taurus suddenly struck something along the side of the highway. He called the Hyde County Sheriff's Office and reported that he thought he struck a deer.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
911, this is Allie. How can I help you?
Allie, Allie, I'm the Attorney General, and I don't know, I hit something.
You hit something?
By Highmore, and it's in the middle of the road.
And what was your name?
Jason Ravnsborg.
Are you injured at all, Jason?
I am not, but my car sure as hell is.
Uh-oh. Are you out of the roadway?
I am out of the roadway. I was able to get over, but it sure hit and mashed my windshield.
Oh, no. Okay. Do you think it was a deer or something? Did you vomiting?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Sheriff Mike Volek went to inspect Ravnsborg's car, which was too damaged to drive. Volek then lent Ravnsborg his personal vehicle to drive himself home. The following morning, while returning the sheriff's vehicle, Ravnsborg went to the scene of the accident in an attempt to find the carcass of the deer he thought that he had struck. What he discovered instead was the body of Joseph Boever, a 55-year-old pedestrian who had been walking along the side of the highway when he was struck and killed by Ravnsborg's negligent driving the night before. Both Ravnsborg and the police reportedly did not see the body the night of the accident. An investigation of the collision was immediately initiated.
It's awesome. Speaking of COVID, since I seen you last, my chief of staff's daughter got it.
Oh, no.
So my chief of staff, Tim, that you talked to, is at home. And then Dave, my director, got it confirmed yesterday. So he's home. So like today, we had our DCI annual meeting, actually, over virtual, instead of bringing everybody in. So.
Yeah, we had to cancel ours, too. It was kind of a crazy deal, but...
Right.
Not much you can do. I mean, it's just too sketchy there. Too risky, really.
Yeah. So how's Dave doing? Is
Privacy results in secrecy, and this often results in a gap in our knowledge as to what in fact goes on during an interrogation. It is debatable whether or not a civilian would ever be allowed to bring a cell phone during an interrogation involving the death of another human being. Given that Attorney General is considered a senior position, the ethics of this privilege could be questioned.
And Charlie has been the chief deputy for myself and Marty Jackley, my predecessor, and actually the end of Larry Long, his predecessor. So he's been chief deputy 10, 12 years, and he's been in the office about 25 years.
Oh, okay.
So he knows how the office and state government works, I guess.
Right. Okay. So then...
I can get you his contact if you ever want to talk to him or anything.
Okay. Yeah. So then that day you went to the Lincoln Day dinner in Redfield. Again, you had said that you didn't have anything to drink that night.
I absolutely had zero alcohol to drink. I had a Coca-Cola. I had a steak. I don't know what kind of steak, but I had steak, and I had a baked potato. I remember that.
If an officer suspects that someone involved in an accident may have been driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, the procedural rules become the same as those for a standard traffic stop. Proper investigation would likely have included the screening for a DUI to rule out any possibilities of intoxication. This screening never took place.
Tried to give you the waitress's name, and then I got the list of the people that were there and such, and try to verify that. But
And then what time did you leave the dinner?
9:15.
9:15
p.m. obviously.
Yep.
Notice both detectives taking notes on Ravnsborg's responses. The clipboard or notepad is essential to the Reed method of interrogation for a number of reasons. By taking notes, the investigator will be more able to observe the subject's behavior. Note-taking also slows down the pace of questioning. It is much easier to lie in response to questions that are asked in a rapid-fire manner. Note-taking can inhibit the gathering of information if it is done sporadically. However, if at the outset of the interview the investigator establishes a pattern of writing a note following each of the subject's responses, note-taking will not inhibit the disclosure of relevant information. You'll notice this is executed masterfully by these investigators.
When I got out of town, I remember on that first leg, the Miller, or the Redfield to the corner, I'd called my father. So I did not have, I have Sirius radio.
Okay.
So I turned down the volume, but I still had it on because the Lakers were playing.
Okay.
I remember the Lakers were playing Houston, and you can watch the score when that happens, when it's on. And I talked to my father, and I turned the corner, the Miller corner, I turned and talked to him, and then there's a dead zone there, and it dropped. And then when you got closer to Miller somewhere, I called him back, and all it was I didn't hang up on you call. It dropped. And
so you talked to him
twice
about the Miller corner? Is that about?
Well, I mean,
so you left
a piece of paper, or something. I can just show you the thing. I went to the corner, I turned the corner, and it dropped somewhere there.
Okay.
The purpose of the non-accusatory segment of the interrogation is to gather information by allowing the suspect to recount the event as they remember it. It's important to remember, most liars do not fabricate entire stories, but rather tell the truth up to the point where they want to conceal information, skip over the information they want to conceal, and continue to tell the truth. Deceptive people who lie by omission use grammar structures that allow them to construct a series of sentences that circumvent or bridge the information that deceptive people desire to withhold. By gathering this information, the detectives can later compare the statements made by the individual with statements or evidence gathered later in the investigation in order to get a clear picture of what may have happened.
Dead spot. And then as I got close to Miller, I tried again. And that's when I got him back, and I said, I didn't hang up on you, Dad. It dropped for some reason.
Right.
And okay. Go back to the car. He says, he writes down. He takes those two items and he writes me out the red ticket, which I gave you a picture of.
Sure did.
And then he said, well, where do you live? Or where were you at? He asked me where I was at. I said, well, I'm in Redfield. I went to a political event and a Republican event over there. And he goes, well, you're not running this year, are you, already? And I says, no, but you're Attorney General. You're always running. You're always, out seeing the people. And I think that's what you got to do.
Your extra pen, please.
Sure.
Mine went dead.
Oh,
sorry.
And get out and find out what their concerns are and talk with them, and that's what you should do as a elected person. And he said something to the effect that he loved his job, but he doesn't like the politics of it. And I didn't really say much to that, I guess. And then he said, well, where do you live? Well, I started describing exactly where I lived. I think he meant, from what he said later, that he just wanted to know what town I lived in. But I was telling him exactly where I lived in town. And I'm a little shook up. And he goes to the effect of, well, I can either take you there, or you can drive, but it'll be an hour for a tow truck. We talked about a tow truck, and I said. So I was confused. I says, well, we just talked about a tow truck, but you said I could drive. I do think the car is drivable. I mean, the motor runs and and everything, but is it safe to drive? I was just this was cloudy of my why is, and he says, no, you can I'll take you to my house and I'll give you my car, and you can drive, or I can take you back.
The fact that the police chief was willing to give Ravnsborg his own squad car is indicative of the laissez-faire demeanor the police treated this investigation with. It's rather unlikely that a police officer would lend his car out to any civilian in this situation.
And then I said I wanted to go to Highmore and fill it up with gas, because I thought that was only the right thing to do again, that somebody loaned me their vehicle to give it back to them full. And so we filled it up, and as we drove by, some of the wreckage was still there on the road.
Did it look like it was in the same place that it was?
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
if it moved or not.
Right.
I mean, it's, obviously 10, 12 hours
Yeah.
had passed. Yeah,
Right.
if
And I
it
get
moved.
from darkness to daylight. I get
Right,
it.
yep. I don't know
okay.
if it moved or not, but it was still there, and I thought it could be a problem for another traveler.
Mm-hmm.
And I had thought along the way, I didn't look on the south side of the ditch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told Tim, well, let's park on the north side, look there, and then let's look on the south side, because maybe the deer glanced off and went to the other side of the road. I did not check that the night before on the south side. Well, then we pull up to the site area, and again, I never saw, my car is gone at that point,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know where my car is in relation to the body when I found it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went west, and Tim went east, and then I found the body,
Mm-hmm.
and I just came to Tim and said, Tim, you gotta come here, I found a body. So Tim came up and looked at it, and then I said, well, now it's daylight, I can see the sheriff's house, and I said, we gotta go get the sheriff immediately.
A deceptive subject will often retreat from a threatening situation either physically or by distancing themselves from the crime in their statements. The detectives likely know that arrangement of the room is a significant factor in minimizing retreat behaviors, and have placed Ravnsborg in the very corner of the room, giving them a psychological advantage when they begin the confrontation phase of the interrogation.
What do you think, though, if I told you that when they did the phone extractions, they found some internet activity on your phone around
Okay.
that time?
Well, I guess, I don't not use my phone, but I did not use it at the time of the crash. No.
Okay. But were you using it up to the time of the crash?
Ravnsborg is now in the hot seat and realizes that the next answer he gives could incriminate him. As a lawyer, he is likely very familiar with this situation, just never from this point of view. The detectives, on the other hand, know from his cell phone records that he was in fact on his phone seconds before or during the accident.
Not that I recall.
A memory qualifier is a type of phrase that blames the subject's poor memory in order to bend a response in his or her favor. For example, not that I recall.
Uh-huh. So what were you doing with it before you got to Highmore? If you set it down at Highmore, I
Well, I look at the time and such. I
Uh-huh.
know I do that.
Here's kind of the information that was put together on your phone. And here's our times. 10:20:49, you were on the Dakota Free Press
Okay.
site. These are all on your work phone.
Mm-hmm.
A minute later, you were on the Real Clear Politics website.
Okay.
And then about a minute later, this article was pulled up through the Just the News,
Okay.
which could have been something that
Mm-hmm.
you were on this and it had a link to click to get you to this one
Mm-hmm.
regarding this. It's an article about Joe Biden and
Mhm.
something with China. So you were on that up to about, we're going to estimate probably a minute before the accident.
Okay.
You were on that. Do you remember any of these?
Well, I remember looking at it, but that's when I set my phone down prior to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
The detectives have now successfully gotten Ravnsborg to admit he was indeed on his phone, reading the Joe Biden article moments before the accident.
Because then, like I said, we're looking at a minute to 2 minutes before you call 911.
Right.
So, the concern being is that we know that from the time of impact, there was a time period that went by before you called 911.
Right.
You had to realize what was going on, come to a stop, get your bearings back about you, get out, look at the damage a little bit, figure out what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to figure out where you are, call 911. So it's reasonable to say that there was a minute to 2 minutes that passed from impact to when you were actually on the phone with 911, right? That would be reasonable, correct? I mean,
I guess, yeah.
so when we look at that, our concern is everything that we're seeing here is appearing that you were on your phone reading political stuff at the time.
But I just wasn't. I set it down. I know I did.
Did you maybe set it down after the accident?
No, because I grabbed it and went out.
Mm-hmm. And it was sitting in, like, the center console
Center
area?
console area, absolutely.
Okay, so when the impact happened, that phone was sitting in the center console?
Absolutely.
Okay. See where this obviously...
Well, yeah, yeah.
It's an issue?
Part of this, Jason, is we have a job,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
People make mistakes,
Right.
and we're thinking you made one.
I don't remember being on my phone. I set it down, and I shut the radio off, and I looked at the speedometer, is the best I remember.
Yeah.
But I don't, that's what I was, worrying, how fast does that transmit, that you do that, that you set it down. And I never shut the browser, I guess, a lot,
Yeah. But it shows you unlocked it and such, so, it's a tough position. We
Right.
know,
Right.
we know. But it's like, it's sure appears to be a problem here. And we want to get ahead of it,
Right,
just like you do.
right.
I get it. I know
Mhm.
what kind of position you're in. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
But these don't just appear, too.
Right, I understand.
I mean,
I look at
you're
stuff.
smart enough to know
I
that
look at stuff.
technology is
But I
instant.
I remember I sat it down because I was getting rid of distractions because I wanted to think about these cases. But, I shut it down there.
Either Ravnsborg is being untruthful, or what is occurring is known as belief perseverance, also known as conceptual conservatism. Belief perseverance is the act of maintaining a belief despite new information that firmly contradicts it. Such beliefs may even be strengthened when others attempt to present evidence debunking it, a phenomenon known as the backfire effect. Ravnsborg also has a history of believing conspiratorial or disproven facts, as he joined in with other politicians to challenge the 2020 presidential election results, which stemmed from unsubstantiated claims by former President Trump.
Is amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and
But I was not looking at it when it happened. I won't say that I was. No. I set it down, and I went to hit I shut the radio off, and I looked at the speedometer.
Mm-hmm. So is it maybe when all that was going on that the impact happened?
Well, that's the best message that I can remember. Boom.
yeah, and it could be instantaneous.
Right.
Right.
And we get that.
Right.
We get
Yes.
that.
It
It could be instantaneous, and like you said the last time,
Right.
wham, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're putting it down, it could be wham, there it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I set it down. I remember sitting it down. I pretty confident I shut the radio off, and then went, looked at the speedometer. This was the best I remember. And then wham. I was not looking at my phone. I know it's the law, and I was not looking at it at the time it happened. No.
You've been kind of called out on that before too, haven't you?
I don't know what you mean by that.
So somebody, when you were texting or tweeting when you were going through the Black Hills,
Well,
that was a similar type situation where,
well, yeah.
and you got kind of called out on it. That's what I mean.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
we heard about all that. Joe and I have done, we want to cover every base, and
Right.
we have.
Right.
And I can assure you we have gone as far.
Well, obviously, I'm political. I get called out on lots of stuff that
Yeah.
doesn't look necessarily how it looks,
Right.
It seems that Ravnsborg is accustomed to using his governmental position for manipulation or intimidation, as he has repeatedly brought it up in situations where he needs an out.
Did you notice anything on the passenger side while you were doing that?
Just glass. I was staying away from the glass, I guess.
Okay.
I didn't spend a lot of time.
So when you're doing that, are you leaning over the console?
Yes,
or are you...
from the driver's door, leaning over, yes.
Okay. So you can kind of see in the glove box, and
Right.
which
And
is already
like I said,
popped open.
It's already popped open, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So did you see the glasses right next to that?
I did not.
Okay.
You showed me the glasses the first time.
They're-
The first time
They're Joe's glasses.
I wondered about that.
So that means his face came through your windshield.
It's rather suspicious that not Jason Ravnsborg or any of the police officers saw the victim's body or blood, given the fact that the victim's face had to have gone through the front windshield in order for the glasses to fall into the front seat.
It's a tough thing.
Oh. I was thinking that his face did not come through because there would have been blood. I thought there'd been blood everywhere then. Now, after I've thought about it.
Yeah, and you've had time.
Right.
His glasses are right there, Jason. Those are Joe's.
I did not see the glasses until you showed it to me.
Sure.
Oh.
So the only way for them to get there is through the windshield. At the impact, did you look over and see anything?
I did not see anything. I mean, it was, again, I then was looking to get it to the side. I did not see anything. No, absolutely not. It shattered, and I probably cringed or something, but I was just trying to get it to the side. I did not see him. I did not know there was a human until the next day.
Okay, so
No.
when the glasses are in there, it's like his lenses, and we have a witness. We've talked to witnesses that actually had seen him out there as well. So, I mean, you have to look at it from our
absolutely.
our side of it. We're just trying to find the facts. We know what we know, and we're explaining it, as best as we can. We know certain things. We know those are his glasses. They were on his head because they were seen on his head. They ended up in your car.
I never saw him until you showed him to me.
Okay.
I never saw him, no.
One of the other things that we know, Jason, is you weren't in the middle of the road. You were on the shoulder. And I know it happens fast because it's happened to me. We have 3 people putting him next to the grass. So we knew something was happening. I mean, you're a smart man. Joe and I have done this job a long time. We know what the evidence is going to show us, what the evidence does show us.
I don't remember. I remember being in the road, but she'll show me what the evidence shows. But
Yeah. So part of the evidence that is really convincing is there is bone scrape on the inside of the rumble bars, and that's where his leg was likely broke. That's where the pieces were at.
So how did he get farther down the road? I mean, did he ride? How did that?
His face was in your windshield, Jason. Think about that.
And you're going 65 to 70 miles per hour, so from the time it takes you to slow down, and you figure how far you went at 65 to 70 miles per hour just before it clicks that you need to stop.
But it doesn't show that I braked a few times? Just believed it was a deer. I do. I know it sounds, but I've never hit a man before. I've hit a deer, because that's the time of season to do that.
In your 911 call, though, Jason, you say, I hit something.
Right, because I don't know what it was, but I assumed it was a deer. I never saw a deer. I never saw a man. I just assumed it was a deer. I hit something. I just assumed it was a deer.
The detectives are no longer comforting Ravnsborg or reinforcing any form of denial.
Initially, you were driving down the middle of the road. We know that's not true. You were 10 and 2 driving, and you didn't see this guy walking down the middle of the road. We know that's not true. Jason, you're a good guy. You're not used to being in this pickle.
I am a good guy, yes.
I'm not so sure of that.
No, let's get this thing behind us.
I thought I was in the road. I never saw him. I never saw him. Until the next day, when I found him. I don't know what else I can help try and straighten out for you.
Okay. Do you want to...
I'm obviously not as observant as I should be.
Should we take a couple-minute break? And
Yeah.
Yeah, can I get some water?
we'll get you a glass of water. We'll take a couple-minute break. We've been talking a long time.
On February 17th, 2021, Ravnsborg was charged with 3 misdemeanors, including operating his vehicle while using his cell phone, driving outside of his lane, and careless driving. Each charge carries a maximum penalty of 30 days in jail and a fine of $500. The outcome of this case and the charges that Ravnsborg faces validate a fear held by the masses who believe that the underlying pain and suffering of the average person is nefariously perpetuated by those who are in control of the systems that oppress us. Yet we must continue to criticize and condemn all forms of tyranny and corruption if we have any vision for the future.